A very good morning to you. We're in a very special location around Lurgan today. Can you guess where we are from the visuals? Yeah, you can, but what about those who are listening on the podcast? Let's give you a quick clue on your Lurgan podcast of where we might be. It's a rather large green area. During the early part of the week, I was in another green part of the town. It's not the park. It is a park. It has a name before it. The one we were at on Wednesday, we'll talk about it during the podcast, was David Park. This is, I can hear them shouting.
It's the home of football. Welcome to Mourneview Park.
Welcome to your Lurgan podcast. I'm Donagh McKeown.
And I'm Michael Scott. Walking down the Tantricky Road. Anyway, carry on.
Oh, well, we can sing that one later.
Yeah.
Well, it's one I've heard before, but not so often. I told you before I used to sit up. The stand's all gone now. Used to sit up there with my dad. Loved coming here. Loved asking him, Daddy, what time is it? Can we go home now? But besides that was when I was 7 or 8. You can hardly believe that, Michael.
Well, we're here because, firstly, I have stuff to do today around here. But so it's out of convenience more than anything else. But it's Gary Hamilton's testimonial today. He's celebrating 10 years in charge of Craigavon, which in this day and age is some feat to be in charge of any football team for 10 years. But we'll talk more about that later.
Absolutely. Really good story, actually. I'd seen that posted on your Lurgan. Mm-hmm. So let's look at the week. A busy week. Lots of things happening. Some sad stuff and some... stuff we'd rather not talk about, but it's happened this week too. Yeah. But let's get into the stories.
You hit the nail on the head there. It has been an exceptionally busy week. I mean, I think, was it last week I was saying it's one of those weeks that was very, very quiet, and this week has been the absolute polar opposite. Starting off, of course, with the news that broke on Monday evening that David Trimble, who was the MP and MLA for this part of the world in Upper Bann, had passed away. Former UUP leader, First Minister of Northern Ireland as well. So we've had tributes coming in to him. Whether or not you agree with his politics, you can't deny his place in history.
It's without a shadow of doubt. It's one of the most important aspects of life here that helped move us so much forward.
Absolutely, and you think about where we have come from 1998. It's incredible. It's a far better place now. A lot of work still to do. I think we can all agree on that, but. I think for the legacy of boys like David Trimble, John Hume, the legacy they have left will never be forgotten.
Thank you for that. I don't think I ever met Mr. Trimble in his earlier days. He was Lord, was he Lord?
Lord Trimble, yeah.
Lord Lisnagarvey?
Lord Lisnagarvey he became, yes, yeah.
Which is not too far away. I wonder, his roots are there, aren't they?
Lisburn direction, yes, they are, yeah. I think that's where his family live, and in fact I think his son was the mayor of Lisburn and Castlereagh for a while. Okay. So that's where they were, but no, he obviously well known around here as well, obviously for, I think he was MP from 92, 93, following the death of Harold McCusker. So yeah,
I think it was Armstrong that took over from him, usurped him, as it were. The seat went from being the official unionist seat to becoming DUP.
Oh, David Simpson.
David Simpson.
Yes,
David Simpson.
Yeah. So that was 2005, I think. A couple of wrong years, but I think I'm in around the right ballpark there. But changed time in local politics. Of course, the UUP maybe not the force that they were back in those days, but of course. I suppose we'll express our sympathies to his family and all those that knew him as well. There's various tributes in your Lurgan, even from Cara Lockhart, the DUP MP, and actually I think one of tributes going on now from the UUP council group. So yeah,
and I think there was a council book of condolences online.
That's
correct.
I
think I saw that too.
That's correct. So people can still put their name to that as well if they wish.
Well, he hopes to move us all towards peace, and we did take that peace. But there's something in the opposite direction that was happening in the Craigavon area this week that made news.
Yeah, in the Meadowbrook area of Craigavon, there was a shooting earlier this week. A lot of people heard the police helicopter up in the air. I think it was on Monday night. It was floating about, and people were asking questions why it was going on. And then in the early hours of the following morning, news came through of what had happened. There was a shooting. A woman escaped injury in that shooting. We don't want to see that happen. I mean, what's the purpose of that?
The usual thing to do, and I suppose as journalists we got to look for the reasons and causes, as it were, particularly because of the peace that ensued here for so long. Was there any suggestion that it was related to politics or local?
No, we don't know what it was all about, and I suppose we'll have to wait until somebody is arrested for that to find out what's going on, if it makes it to court. But at this stage, no, we don't know what that was all about. So, well, I would say there's probably people in the community who know all right what it was all about, but as journalists, we can't speculate. So
no reason to speculate. But we do have to ask the question
We
because
do.
it's important for people to know. So that was dark news, because it's always dark news. The helicopter, I've heard it go up once or twice. I live in Castle Lane or thereabouts, and I have heard it, and it's not a sound you want to hear, is it?
Not particularly, no. I mean, like, even where I live, we don't hear it that often, but even the likes of the police helicopter or ambulance, if you see them, it always raises concern, and I'd rather not have that concern, I suppose. So, yeah.
Well, I'd grown up and lived through the times where if you didn't hear a helicopter during the day, it was strange.
There was something wrong.
Nearly
Yeah.
the opposite. So, other stories.
Well, we'll talk about what you've been up to this week, Donagh, because you've been quite busy.
Yeah, you got me out working for a
I
change.
did, yeah. I think we've all been working this week. We'll come to what Johnny's been up to this week as well. But, you were at Shackle Graveyard.
I was, and I'm heading back there now. It's later on. This is you always let the cat out of the bag that we do this on a Saturday. The Shackle Graveyard is reopened. The council have given permission for it to be open. I'm not sure exactly of the hours, but it's open a number of times, probably every day through the week, and it's really good. The Friends of Shankill Graveyard have really been promoting its reopening. Shall we take a look at some of the footage of where it was?
Let's.
Well, I'm with a few people who are hoping to bring some tours back to Shankill Graveyard. But I want to speak first of all to Isabel. Isabel Highlands, you're at the heart of the Friends of Shankill Graveyard, and delighted to see the graveyard open. The last time we spoke, quite a number of weeks ago, it was closed, and now it's open.
No, it's great to get it back open again, Donagh. People wanted to come, families wanted to come and visit their graves, and we were delighted when we got approval from the council to open up. Okay, there are some restrictions. They're on a health and safety basis, so we have to work within them, but we're hoping that we can get some tours up and running again within the next week or so.
And those safety measures are simply just a few little stickers, as it were, red and white cordons, as it were, not to walk into those particular areas.
That's right. It's to keep. There are some of the headstones which are unstable, and people could get hurt. So it's important that we try and work with the council on this until such times as we get the headstones all renovated.
So this is my 3 times great grandparents, Cartwright family. In the 1901-1911 census, they were living in Arthur Street in the town. Their daughter, Mary Sarah, she married my great grandfather, and my own grandfather was born in Ann Street in the town. And the connection.
This is your Munro grandfather or your Cartwright grandfather?
Munro. I'm currently doing work on the Cartwright family. Further back, the Munros have a lot of history with the town.
And it's good to see that the graveyard's open. We haven't got the exact days and dates, as it were, but the Friends of Shankill Graveyard are hoping to have walking tours, among other things, and there are other efforts. There's so many other efforts that are involved in there, reclaiming some of the headstones and perhaps looking to see about getting them repaired. Now, that's a longer-term job. So there's lots of other things. Well,
We can maybe give a wee insight into one of the stories we're going to have next week as well. Well, maybe not show some of the footage that we have, but you've been talking to one of the local art clubs as well.
oh, I have indeed. I've been out and about. That was in what they're calling locally the Hub, the A. Russell Hub, as it were, as part of the St Vincent de Paul buildings, or there close by. They've been using that for an arts group during the week. The last 3 weeks Ursula Layton is the core operator. She runs Aeon Arts, among other things, and she took me through their special fun day. I could have had my face painted, but I knew it was coming on the podcast. I could have had my nails painted. I could have had all sorts of things. A lot of fun down there, and they were throwing water bottles at Ursula in particular. It was a lot of fun to look at.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So yeah, that's very interesting. We'll look forward to seeing that. I think we're putting that out on Monday or Tuesday. So keep an eye on your Lurgan early next week. I'm off next week.
Yeah, you don't care.
I don't care.
Tupney.
Well, no, I do care. I do.
I'm actually going around the world trip very shortly too, but I'll probably be back by Monday.
No, I'm only going as far as Port Stewart to stay or spend a week in a tent. I can't.
Lovely.
That will be fun. I cannot sleep in a tent. If anybody out there has any tips about how to get to sleep in a tent, please do contact me, because I am dreading it. I don't mind camping. I don't mind camping. It's that space from about 10, 11 o'clock at night till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning where I just don't sleep. That's the bit I hate.
Well, I know there's good saving in having your own tent. As a particular, there are places that will provide you with tents, but the biggest adventure that you could go in is to go to a glamping site.
Oh yeah.
Bit more expensive, but it gives you that feeling of living in the outdoors. And we have a great one down in Lough Neagh.
That's right, at Kinnigo, yeah.
Kinnigo Marina.
Yeah.
So good luck for that.
Thank you very much. I think I'll need that luck.
What else has been happening? Are you going to push it back to me again? All of the
I'm going to push it back to you. No, we're not. We're going to push it to Johnny.
Oh yeah, Johnny.
Johnny's been busy this week. Johnny has been covering, as part of the reason why we're here as well, the Super Cup up in Coleraine. Well, not Coleraine, up in the north coast. And he's had a great week. And who else has had a great week? Glenavon have had a great week. Yeah, Glenavon got to the final of the youth section of the tournament. Unfortunately lost out yesterday to Charlton Athletic. I watched the match. It was live on the BBC, believe it or not.
Wow.
So yeah, that they were very unlucky now, I have to say, because I think I don't want to sound like Gary Hamilton, but they were full-time players come up against boys who are from school. But
that's the remarkable thing, isn't it? These guys, the local clubs, the international clubs, they're not in UK and particularly in England, send the teams over especially to meet them as they were, to put them out there into the big bad world, and they really take it seriously. Manchester United being the biggest name that comes.
Yeah, you have United, you have Rangers, you have Leeds, you have Leicester, you have all those big teams. So yeah, well, I've had a chat with Johnny post-tournament to get his reaction and find out what he made of the whole thing. Well, Johnny, thanks for joining us. Thanks for covering all the football this week. I'm sure you've had a great time. What a week it's been for you.
I know it's been a great week. The weather stayed good, apart from the last match. So there's been all over Castle Rock, Port Stewart, Coleraine. There's about 3 or 4 grounds in Coleraine now as well, and they've actually made a new one, which was the last one last night, which is a really, really good view up on the heights area of Coleraine. Plenty of goals, plenty of excitement, and they had a dream final last night, obviously, with Rangers playing Man United up in Ballymena. So good crowds as well, I thought, as well, and with the competition not been on the last 2 or 3 years, I think everyone came out to really give them their support.
Yeah, well, you've seen a fair bit of football this week. I mean, what have been your highlights?
Yeah, I think I've counted about 11 games or something between that and Coleraine, so I'm fed up looking or seeing what football looks like, to be perfectly honest. Highlights would definitely be watching Glenavon's youth team, and I know we'll probably chat about that later on. And I just think, for a group of guys coming together, part-time guys as well, playing against full-time teams, they played Charlton in the final yesterday. They worked really, really hard for each other. They were knackered probably towards the end, just with a busy week and playing at different pitches as well. Yeah, watching them, and even their game against Donagh, they were 2 up with 2 minutes to go. And there was me thinking, they're safely in the next round. And then Donagh scored 2 goals in the last 2 minutes, but their goalkeeper got injured. And then the ball came down straight from the kickoff. I think the Donagh keeper had the ball in his hands, but the Glenavon player poked the ball in, and the referee gave the goal. And there was a red card and everything, and the big melee and stuff like that. But yeah, that was probably the best match that I've seen. And then you see teams like San Francisco Glens, where their names would be the best score ever in Scrabble and stuff, and you're trying to figure out the team sheet and meeting different people. And I remember watching the match in Castle Rock, and I had a notepad and a pen, and somebody wee boys thought I was a scout. Who are you scouting? And had to tell them I was working for your Lurgan, so it wasn't around the big grounds in England. I was working for your Lurgan. So And met a scout actually from Leicester as well, and he was a really, really nice guy. I had a good chat about, like of Brendan Rodgers managing the first team and all the way down Jamie Vardy and Johnny Evans and stuff. So yeah, no, it was really, really good week.
Yeah. Well, I know you touched it on there. Glenavon Youth getting to the final. Did really well to get to the final. Unfortunately, beaten in the end. But I mean, from what you've seen this week, I mean, I know they're only under 14, so for a few years to go yet before some of those players may get into the first team. But should Glenavon fans be getting excited for the future?
Yeah, I don't want to put too much pressure on them as well. I think they're only 13 or 14, but there was 3 or 4 young fellas that really caught my ear. There's a fella at the back, Harrison Crooks. He's a big guy for his age, and he wins a lot of headers and keeps it very, very simple. He actually scored in the final, and he actually scored a winner against Donagh as well. So he's a goal scoring centre half, which will be pleasing for Glenavon fans to hear. There's also a fella in the right or left wing, and I was telling everybody this the whole week. Chris Atherton. What a player he is. I think Celtic are looking at him. And I think he was over at Dundee as well. And I think Rangers are sniffing around him. So he's so good. He glides with the ball. You wouldn't even think he's sweating or running. He's a great player to watch. I suppose as a Korean fan, the nearest player to that would be maybe like a Glacken, just strides with the ball. But it's great. It's really, really good. And there's a wee fella up front called Callum Cope as well. Scored a lot of goals for them. So yeah, look, no, they done really, really well. And I spoke to Jack. I was at 4 or 5 games. I spoke to Jack after every match, and they were loving it. And that's probably the most, it's enjoyment rather than the results probably at that age. But whenever they just went on a roll, you could just tell. And I actually thought they would struggle against Surf Select because they won. I think their women's team is very good as well, and obviously their junior team or their minor team as well. They beat Glentoran 3-1 in the final. So, but no, they beat them 4-0 and they went through the final. And Charlton, I just thought yesterday were looked more fresh. Probably stood at a bigger pitch, and they just had a couple of players in the midfield that was able just to pick them off. Their number 8 in particular, who scored the first or second goal, he was very, very good. But no, I spoke to Jack yesterday, and I think if he'd offered him a final and all their memories at the start of the week, he would definitely have taken it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's go up a year group or two and talk about County Armagh and the Premier and the junior competitions. I mean, obviously the county's still able to produce some very good footballers. In fact, some Glenavon footballers featuring in those teams as well.
Yeah, I was down at a couple of Armagh games as well when I can make it. The first game I'm nearly certain was like a derby against County Down, and they were 2-0 up at half time, coasting. And then they just didn't come out in the second half, and County Down made it a draw. And I was at County Armagh and watched them in Castle Rock, San Francisco Glens, and they won that 2-1. Bobby Harvey scored an unbelievable free kick into the bottom corner to win that one. Good crowd. There was a good crowd. Obviously, watched all the Armagh games as well. I think they won and lost one of their V's games. And then I watched the Premiers last night in the Globe. Third, fourth playoff against County Down as well, and they had a fella up front. Is it Shane Hawking? I think he's at Warren Point, but he is a unit for that age. I think there's a few scouts down watching him as well, but he is definitely one to watch for the future. Really, really good striker, holds the ball up, brings all the players and they play. He actually scored a goal. I think the corner came in and he just sunk his head on it. And to be fair, if he didn't get his head onto the ball, it was his head on the boot. So he's pretty brave as well. And that match went to penalties, and the Glenavon keeper Sustek, he saved 3 of them. I don't think he definitely didn't start the game. He must have came on. I missed that, but he came on and he saved 3 of the penalties. Armagh missed the first one, then scored the next 3, and he saved 3 of the next 4. So yeah, good for them. They finished on a high as well. So yeah, all in all, really, really good week, and I was really, really glad to see a penalty shootout.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask. I mean, a really good week, and still a great week for supporters to come up and take it all in.
Yeah, of course, and yes, it might not have had the tradition as it has in years before, but Leeds were there, Leicester were there, Charlton were there, Man United were there, Rangers were there. So you had all the big teams in Britain as well, and obviously then you have your minor and your youth section, which allows the likes of a Korean, a Ballymalour, a Glenavon, Dungannon, they compete against them top teams. I think personally, from a Solage point of view, from where I live, I think having games maybe now in Newton Abbey and Larne and Clough might sort of take it away from the feel of the North Coast. To me, not because I'm from Korea, but the Super Cup final should be in Korean. Obviously, they just don't have the changing room facilities for that as well. I think there's actually a pitch now in Bushmills that they're going to try and get it in there as well, just to sort of make it the whole way around the North Coast, which would be really, really good. And yeah, I think, you know, £7 in the a few grounds might be a bit steep, but if you buy the family pass at £30, you're going to make your money back and then some, because you're going to go to all the games, and then the challenge games as well between Man United and Northern Ireland seem to be well attended as well. So yeah, really good week. It's glad to get back. I'm sure the organising committee are glad it's back as well. It's been a frustrating 2 years for them with COVID, and there's a lot of teams from all over the world at it as well. So it still has that appeal, and there's still good footballers there, and everyone else, and plenty of scouts and entertainment and stuff like that. And I was chatting to a couple of young boys that played for Korean in the minor section there, and that was probably the best week of their life, and staying in a hotel and getting fed, and then having the Bob and Burt's and the McDonald's and the Chippy and stuff, and going into this dip for, you know, sea dip for recovery. So it's just everything that's memories for those sort of guys. I just wish I was that age and had 2 functional knees.
Don't we all? But here, Johnny, listen, thanks very much for talking to us.
Yeah, no problem, Michael.
Never been there for the Milk Cup, as it used to be called, the Super Cup.
Super Cup now.
And obviously the sponsorship has moved on. So who are Super? I mean, just call it Super because it's Super.
I don't know who Super are. It's just an amazing tournament.
Yeah.
Fair play to the lads, well done to them all.
Yeah, great history. Mostly around Coleraine. Is that where they played, in the Coleraine?
Yeah,
Showgrounds?
they've sort of expanded now. They're out to Larne and
Wow.
places like that now too. Just in case you're wondering who's walking in the background over my shoulder, that's the Glenavon chairman, Adrian here.
Oh dear, we should
That's
get
him.
him back over and see how he feels about it.
We'll leave him be. He's probably way to ask questions of the groundsman about what ways the pitch is looking.
Okay, and it's looking pretty good, we have to say.
It is
So,
spectacular.
so back to the real world
The
of
world,
the podcast.
the world of GAA. You've been busy with that too.
Have helping Eugene Craney from our staff here, column staff. He does all the work, and I just stood looking. But it was to meet an Armagh legend, Jimmy Smith, in Clonagale. It was a lovely, lovely interview. Jimmy's very articulate and a great story, so really, really enjoyable. We'll show you a bit of that now, if you like.
Every expert now has got access to social media, which is a complete disaster. And the keyboard warriors, you know, I don't mind somebody giving their opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, but if their opinion is couched in attacks on people, players, managers, it's an amateur organisation. People are doing it for the love of the game, and especially county is bad enough, but at club level, some of the abuse that managers get is absolutely shocking. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Now, the contrary to that is this here, that you have so many volunteers. If you take the clans, for example, there are 52 coaches looking after our underage teams. Now, there's not a night you come down here that this place is not buzzing. The car park's always full, and Donagh swept around the hall at the start of this. He wants to be in this hall in mid-November, where we had so many underage presentations that we had to spread them over 2 weeks, boys and girls, on different two different age groups every night. And that shows the interest that's in here, not just in here, but around the town at the minute. It's fantastic, brilliant, you know.
Jimmy, just to take you back a wee bit, if you don't mind, to the team you had in the 70s. I mean, we talked about Clonagale, but a fantastic team. Kercruppen were there, Cross were always there. Locally, who were the teams that were challenging? No, Murray were decent at that time, maybe sorry. Who would have been the teams that were putting it up to you, as it were?
Well, everybody put it up to us, but the team that put it up to us more than anybody, was the Peters in the championship. No matter what, I remember that we played them, and I actually, not because I scored it, but I remember I scored a 50 with the last kick of the ball.
To beat them?
No, to draw with them, out in Clonerne.
Oh.
And now we beat them in the replay. But the number of times that, and I remember saying this to some of the players, you know, and the Peters might have gone away and played other teams and didn't do well at all. And I used to say to them, when you play us, why don't you pretend that you're playing us every match? Because they never failed to put us the pin of our collar, you know.
Yeah, the legendary Eugene Craney, and then myself and Jimmy turned up. Thank you, Jimmy, for turning up for that one. Really, really good.
We're off now. We're going down the road. We're going to talk rugby.
Yeah, rugby.
Egg chasing, as I like to call it.
Pollock Park. I'd never been inside it before.
Have you not?
Well, I may have done a disco in my disco days. Disco days, that's the name of it.
Spinning discs rather than dancing, I hope.
No, we weren't spinning disco. Oh, well, we were. I think we were in the computer age. No, it wasn't the spinning of the discs. local party, birthday party or something. So I think I was up there for one of those, but it was all dark. There was no rugby players.
I see.
But it was the, you couldn't call it a fun day. What's it called?
Give rugby a try.
Give rugby a try. And you want to see the atrocious puns I got back from this man about that.
Scrum crack.
Yeah, it was scrum crack. I remain.
Have you been converted to trying it?
I remain. I remain, but I got extra points for getting that one back at you.
You did.
I think we stopped the puns about after the first few, so we'll do that right now. But a lovely evening. Paula McGill was and is the president up there. She introduced me to some of the people taking part. It was lovely to see. It was a lovely evening and fine facilities there. The senior men rugby were training way over in the far distance. There were 2 cricket clubs there, one of them Lurgan and the other Lisburn, and they were under 16 if I'm not mistaken. I was lucky to realise that the bunch of girls that were there for the cricket were not there for the rugby because they had all their regalia, their pads put up and cricket balls going. So I figured they weren't the rugby, but really worth looking at wherever you're involved. If you're involved in all sorts of sport, you might like to take the opportunity and give it a try. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 o'clock at Pollock Park.
Great. Shall we take a look?
It's not as bad as everybody thinks. You know, there can be big hits, there can be wee hits. You know, it's not as rough as you think, and I think people are more afraid of the thought of it rather than actually coming and giving it a go. And whenever you do give it a go, you'll see it's not that bad.
We're pretty much just a new team. We've only been going for about 3 years, but obviously there was COVID in the middle of it, which hit 2 or 3 times. So we're in a new league this season, Development League, and we're just trying to encourage new people to come up and give it a go over the summer. We're doing non-contact rugby throughout July and August. We have brand new beginners, people that have played before, and that's the beauty of rugby, is suitable for everybody.
What about you, Anna? What has drawn you to this experience?
I just started about a year ago. I just wanted to get a bit fitter and I enjoy sport. And
you played other sports?
Yeah, I used to play Gaelic when I was younger. So I've always enjoyed like any sort of like sporting.
I played sport at school, hockey and netball, but I hadn't played any sport for a long time. I would go to the gym and things like that, but I got into this because I'd seen a leaflet a few years ago. They were starting up the women's rugby team, and I came and have never left, and it's honestly the best thing I've ever done, and I would encourage anybody who is interested in giving it a go or seeing what it's about to come and give it a try.
So you're listening to Your Lurgan, the podcast. I'm Donagh McKeown.
I'm still Michael Scott, believe it or not.
Well, you're a swimmer. No, you're not a
swimmer. We had this conversation last week. I can't swim. Yeah,
but we're very proud of a very successful local swimmer this week.
We are. Daniel Whiffen from Ireland, just up the road. Daniel, was in the final of the 400 metres at the Commonwealth Games and did exceptionally well. Was very, very unlucky not to be the first ever person to win a medal for Northern Ireland in the Commonwealth Games in the pool. Missed out by a tenth of a second, about 0.13, I think it was, of a second, to I think it was 3 Australians
and
got all the medals.
It was a personal best.
It's an Irish record. He actually had broken the Irish record that morning too in the heats. So Daniel's done really well. He's an Olympian. He was in Tokyo there for the Olympics. His brother as well is actually a very good swimmer as well. He's a twin. So a very talented family. We'll have to get talking to him at some stage.
Without doubt. I thought that as soon as I saw it.
Yeah.
There was a medal winner later then in the pool.
About half an hour later, there was a Paralympian whose name's gone out of my head, but congratulations to him anyway.
I think he's from the Ards area.
He is, yes. So, I mean, yeah, congratulations to him, and it's good to see the medal tally starting to rack up.
It's good that they were able to take part, because there was controversy beforehand about Northern Ireland athletes, particularly this was
the gymnasts.
The gymnasts weren't allowed to compete because they competed for Ireland, and they were trying to exclude them.
Yeah, it was very strange considering, the rules we have. Particularly, I'm thinking of football off the top of my head, where people can play for Northern Ireland and then declare for the Republic, or the other way around if they wish. For example, Owen Kenny, the son of the Republic of Ireland manager who played at the the Super Cup for Northern Ireland under 18s against United the other day. So
I think it's the age thing. Once you're over 18, it changes. The rules change. You have to sign for one. And
No. If you're uncapped, you can.
It's the uncapped bit.
If you're uncapped and you haven't played in a competitive game, I think you can still. The rules keep changing now, but yeah, that's the.
Who will we play for then in the World Cup? Because I was thinking.
I don't think we'll play for. I don't think we'll be playing for anyone. I think Qatar probably do have a few players. We'll probably get a game for them if we really wanted.
Yeah.
I'll not bother though.
We'll not mention Qatar.
No.
So, good news. Well done, Daniel.
Yes, indeed. That's really it from us. I mean, the other thing I should really mention as well, those of you who visit our website will have noticed a pop-up, which some people may find annoying. But we have launched a new newsletter.
Yeah, I received it in my inbox just on Friday.
Comes out twice a week. At the moment it's coming out Wednesday and Friday, but we might change the days because they're very close together. But we're sort of experimenting to see how it goes. We've got quite a few subscribers actually already, which is very, very impressive. And that'll bring you the latest news every evening, or on those 2 evenings rather. With all the news, so you don't have to go onto your social media. You'll be able to find it on there. But please do go onto our social media as well.
Pretty cool. So another interesting week coming up.
A tiring week. I'm looking forward to my week off.
Yeah, well, good.
Did I mention that I'm off this week?
You did, yeah. 3 times so far. You're only allowed to mention it no more times.
Okay.
Enjoy your week.
No, you mentioned it, so that gets me out of it.
You deserve it.
I do.
You need the break.
I do.
Because it's been a tough year for you in one way or another. I mean, a lot of busyness, starting a new scenario like you've done on the Your Lurgan initiative. That's been busy for you, but also you had a touch of illness, a bit of lock away and all sorts of stuff. So go out and enjoy it.
All the stuff that goes on around here that I'm involved in as well. So
absolutely.
I'm now going to sit in a room here and mind it until some football players turn up.
So are you going to send and deputise your young son to be on the podcast? That would probably increase our numbers.
I probably would, yeah, but I think he'll be up to his eyeballs in sand to be too busy to come on the podcast, unfortunately, next week. But we'll work something out.
We'll get a sea and sun and surf podcasting. That's it from the podcast. If you want to get in touch, it's info@yourlurgan.com. We're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter and all
Instagram, all sorts of things. Yourlurgan.com, at yourlurgan on social media, info@yourlurgan.com if you want to contact us. And I can't think of any other way. Send us messages on social media, send us smoke signals, send us whatever you like.
In the longer term too, if you like to be or have the podcast coming from your location, just get out to us at info@yourlurgan.com and we'll see if we can facilitate that too.
I'm sure we can. We love visiting places, getting about.
This is Your Lurgan podcast. Thank you for subscribing or just watching. Share it with others. We love it if you do. My name's Donagh McKeown.
My name's Michael Scott.
Thanks for watching and listening.